just like we do drills, how do we get ahead and actually practice reunification? Any thoughts on how to involve the community in these exercises and the importance of taking what we do as a standard drill, but taking into reunification and the potential after a situation?
Right, I agree with Jackie. I think we have gotten better at this communication and safety drills with teachers, students, parents. We are not as good at communicating our reunification plans yet, because I think there's still some schools and districts that are still working this out themselves, honestly, their reunification plans. So, they need to be confident in their plan before they're, able to kind of communicate that out to stakeholders in the community. But I think there are some ways that this can be done. We're now doing training on how to conduct a reunification exercise and who needs to be involved. And so, yes, definitely parents need to be there. Students need to be involved as well, so you can practice, how that looks as you're reunifying parents and students. So that's an opportunity, if you do an exercise, to invite your parents to attend. And even if they're not participating in the reunification exercise, they can be an observer to it as well. Get the whole community involved. Let them know you're doing this. Get the media involved to do a positive story on what our school district is doing for after a crisis, if one were to occur, and just get that messaging out there that, hey, look what we're doing. We have a reunification plan, and this is what it looks like, and we're practicing it. And I think you have to be creative with parents. So, maybe like feed them lunch or something to get parents to be involved. Because we're all busy, right? I mean, I have 4 kids, and when all 4 of my kids were in schools, I felt like I had a sporting event, a concert, a meeting, something to attend, for my children. So our time is limited as far as, our attention to school safety. We all know it's really important, but having those little, hooks to get parents really involved, and maybe sharing even stories about how this could be, an important part of school safety, I think is important to get parents' attention.
Matt, if I can just add, I think to Carly's point that going back to where we started, the transparency is such an important component to building that confidence and to building that communication stream. And I think, getting that buy-in across the board requires that level of transparency that Carly's speaking about.
Chief, did you have any events in Palm Beach that this reunification planning either helped or looking back at it, I wish I had a better plan in place? Any lessons learned from your end?
Yeah, so I do have a significant lesson learned on it. That came not while I was at the school district, while I was a police chief at a local municipality, and had really great work and relationships with our school principals at the high school, middle, and elementary schools. And then, we had exchange phone numbers. We meet regularly. Communication lines were really very, very, very strong. And I remember one morning working as a police chief, and I was about to tell you what time it was 7:15 in the morning, and I got a call from one of my school principals and said, listen, I've got this event on my campus. It's a bomb threat, and I'm thinking I need to get these kids off this campus. And so he wanted to evacuate. And I said, okay, well, when are you planning to do this? And it was at 7:15. He said, well, we're going to do it in 15 minutes. And so that was 3,300 students. Now we had rehearsed and put a really good plan in place, but the significance of paying attention to details and why the I Love You Guys Foundation is so important comes next. Is we got the 3,300 students, we got them off the campus, we put them at the reunification site. It worked well. We had secure routes, all that stuff. And but one of the things we never really practiced were the nuts and bolts of the actual reunification. So, I'm under the impression that the school district is going to handle the match between the parents and the guardians and the student. And I guess they thought the local police were going to do that. So there really wasn't much of a system in place. And when you think about it, you have 3,300 students. If every one of them had one parent, that's 6,600 people. Most have two, and then you get all the others that come, and then also the staff on campus. We found ourselves with about 10,000 people highly upset to the extent that we darn near had a riot. And so it was pretty big lessons learned, and that's why I can't give enough credit to the I Love You Guys Foundation for the work that they're doing, because this is often the piece where school districts struggle the most. And having drills is important. Maintaining the integrity of the drills is important. As Jackie talked about, measuring the outcomes, make sure that you know what it is you want to accomplish. And there's always going to be room for improvement. And my final thought on this is there's always going to be room for improvement. But if a catastrophic event occurs, you're going to fall back on what you train yourself to do. And I can tell you, as a police officer for 42 years, there have been times in my career that I've been so afraid that I don't know how I got my left foot in front of my right foot. But the way I did it was I fell back on my training, and I did it, and I accomplished the mission. And so that's really, really, really important, because you are going to fall back on what you're trained to do when a catastrophic event comes your way. It's not natural to be involved in that. It's going to come on you fast, quick. It's going to be violent, and it's going to have long-term implications for a lot of these events. So you better be prepared, and drills are a great way to be prepared.
It sounds like there's an opportunity with these exercises, Carly, for these reunification exercises to really involve parents and have them trained as well from a parent's perspective. So even if it's not every parent at the school, getting a representative group of parents to see that the school has a plan and what is the expectations for parents in those situations. What would you recommend for a school district that is just getting started? They have the reunification plan, but they've never done a full-scale exercise. What would be your recommendation from the work that you've done with past districts as well in getting parents involved in these sort of exercises?
Right. It's a big undertaking to put together a reunification exercise, but you can start small. You can do a tabletop, exercise. You can, use our materials on iloveyouguys.org, download them at no cost. Whole plan is in there, how to start basically. But get your team together, get your people that are going to be involved in a reunification, like law enforcement, get those rules defined, like Chief said, beforehand, like let's talk about what everybody's responsibilities are during a reunification before we're actually in a crisis. And, then you can slowly start getting communication out to parents. And I think the pre-communication to parents, getting them involved in an exercise is awesome. But if we can just even talk to our parents about, here's what we expect from you. If we do have to reunify our students for whatever crisis it could be a gas leak, it could be a flood in the gym, it could be, a violent event, let's hope not. But here's what we need you guys to think about. This is how we're going to be sending you communication. We don't want you to come to the impacted site. Check our website. Make sure your contact information is updated so we can get a hold of you if we need to. And so all of those things pre-planning, I think, is the start of getting parents involved. And then you can work your way up to actually including them in some of your reunification planning and exercises. And I'll just make one more point really quick too, is that, in my own personal experience, my kids being at Sandy Hook Elementary School the day of the shooting, and then I was at the firehouse. I didn't know the reunification word existed either on that day, but, we were not, it didn't go well at the firehouse that day. And that went into the recovery. So if you think about it, it's so important to have a plan for reunification and to have parents trust you during that day, because you're going to need their trust on day 2. and you're going to need it in month one and year one. And so I just can't emphasize enough how important having a plan for reunification is, because it is going to affect the recovery and how your community comes back together and how your students come back to school.